I'm Bob Coleman, and we're talking Main Street and the small business lenders who help it grow. Hey, I want to start up with a Q&A from last week's Coleman Report Live, and listen to Lance and I discuss how to handle a splitting of a loan into a couple of different pieces.
A bank purchased an SBA portfolio, and a number of the loans were to hotels, and they were doing 2 loans per borrower, both loans in the $2 million range. And the suspicion was they were doing this to maximize the premium on secondary market sale. You know, what are the problems with this? Well, first problem.
Just I want to clarify, this is the same project. So $4 million project, and he split it up in 2 loans. Go ahead.
Well, let's start with the first thing. If you as a participant bank are buying another bank's portfolio, a strong file review by a qualified source like Chuck's organization, Capital Growth Solutions, and there are others who do it as well, but getting a strong file review of that SBA portfolio is critical in identifying potential problems and exceptions and getting them taken care of. You need to have a good, sound understanding of what you're acquiring. That's step one. Step two, SBA scrutinizes certain types of loans more harshly than they do others. Well, we've got 2 categories here. We've got hotels. In SBA, the Office of Credit Risk Management, the Inspector General, there have been report after report after report of problems in hotel lending. The other thing is, if you look at your peers review, one of the categories of risk is the number of loans that you have over $2 million. SBA is going to look at those. If they do a offsite or onsite review, and I know last week we talked about review costs, but if they do an onsite or offsite review, you can almost guarantee they're going to look at the loans of $2 million or more. So you've got a perfect scenario that SBA is going to look very hard at these loans in a review process, or if you have a default and ask for a guaranteed purchase, they're going to look real hard at these. The other issue, Bob, is the underwriting. And Chuck and I talked about this a little bit. The underwriting, if you're splitting a loan up in half, say you're doing the real estate on one loan, FF&E, and other items on the other loan, you're going to have to make sure you underwrite it with a pari passu collateral position. It is going to be critical that you do this properly, or you're going to get in trouble if there is a default and you request a purchase. My recommendation on this is I would not recommend doing 2 loans for the same project. Chuck and I both, right before we got on the show, we were talking about one of the key objectives in the SOP is for you to do what's best for the small business borrower. I don't see any advantage to a small business borrower in having 2 loans, 2 closings, 2 sets of closing costs. So, I have a lot of challenges with this. It wouldn't matter what industry it is, but because it's the hotel industry, I specifically have a challenge. And another thing I want to throw out, and then I'll be quiet. If you're doing hotel lending, make sure you're asking the questions about affiliate businesses and diving deep and asking for information to determine how many affiliate businesses are related to the borrower that you're working with. But long rambling, but a short answer, I would be real concerned about doing 2 loans on the same project in the hotel industry just for the purpose of maximizing your secondary market premium.
Yeah, I don't think it's permitted. And some people, if you ask some people, it's a condition of a repair or denial. I think that's a strong position, but certainly it's not permitted, and it's not best practices. But it goes back, Lance, to what you said before, being transparent when you have OCRM reviews and fessing up to things like this, looking at other things that you can fix after you've had that third-party reviews. So these are all important facts that you brought up earlier.
As you can see, we sort of have a different backdrop. Hey, this is being released on the opening day of America West. If for some bizarre reason you're in Rancho Mirage, you can't miss us. You see our lights and our cameras. Please stop by. We'd love to talk to you for the podcast. Anyway, we are wrapping up all of our coverage of the SBA BDO Summit in Puerto Rico. A lot of cool content, and we're going to cycle that out and we're going to replace it all with new America West interviews. But in wrapping up, here's an interview we had in Puerto Rico with Trae Dorough of Touchmark Bank. Trae Dorough, Coleman 2018 Rural Lender of the Year.
Thank you,
Officially,
Bob.
congratulations.
Thank you.
We're in San Juan, Puerto Rico. EVP, Chief Lending Officer, Touchmark National Bank. What is a community banker doing in San Juan, Puerto Rico?
So, Bob, we've been in San Juan here for this conference, and we're actually doing a lot of loans on the Virgin Islands and all over the United States. So Puerto Rico is a natural extension for us.
Well, be more specific. We were throwing out St. Croix and Virgin Islands. And
That's right.
Are you looking for a BDO?
Maybe. You got somebody?
We've been, the theme of the Puerto Rico Summit is the island has been devastated by the hurricane, and you're part of the recovery. How is it working with SBA and USDA, because you do both of those loans?
Yes.
How receptive has the government been in your efforts to help get capital to the island?
So they've been very receptive. SBA and USDA has been a great partner, not only for the island, but for us as well. We actually did that same thing in St. Croix and St. Thomas and St. John. We've been making loans over there with the help of SBA and USDA from the same devastation that occurred over there. So coming to Puerto Rico is something we're looking forward to, and I know there's a lot of support from them on that.
Speaking of support, I have to ask the question, you're a smaller community bank. How did the regulators view your lending efforts outside of the Atlanta area?
Sure. The SBA and USDA provide such a good guarantee. The regulators look at that very positively. We, like all banks, have to go through exams, and we've had very good luck, very good reports from them, and they've been very receptive and have never really given us any problems. They are very supportive of the fact that the government guarantees these loans, and we underwrite them with them, so they're very supportive of it.
Well, obviously, if they're supportive, that must mean the underlying asset must be performing well.
Absolutely, they are. They are.
Yeah.
There are good economic engines here in these communities and the islands, and so we found a very nice niche to lend in.
What do you think about the summit? Wrap it up for us.
It's been very good. Great speakers, great dignitaries from Puerto Rico have been supportive, and we're very excited to be here.
Trae, thank you very much.
All right, thanks, Bob.
Following up Puerto Rico, as I said, we're clearing out the file cabinet. Omar Marrero, the Executive Director of the Puerto Rico Public-Private Partnerships Authority. Fascinating stuff. Another interview from San Juan, Omar Marrero, the Executive Director, P3 Authority and CO3. First of all, let's start with that. What is that?
Okay, well, first of all, thank you very much, Bob, for the invitation.
Yes.
P3 Authority is the Public-Private Partnership Authority. It's the one that works with the concessions of the different facilities of the government. And the Core 3 is the Central Office of Recovery. It was the newly office created after the Hurricane Maria in order to oversee all recovery efforts.
You know, it's interesting. I've been down here listening to all these great presentations. I'm from California. I did not understand the scope of the disaster, and 90% of the people listening don't either. So maybe just give a little recap of what is the Herculean task that you have to recover the island?
Well, actually, after facing what has been the longest response in U.S. history and what is the most complex response in history, because being an island, Bob, has complicated everything when the U.S. government tried to respond in a quickly fashion, as well as the state government. So again, after 18 months, yes, we have made some progress in many sectors, but there's many challenges that lie ahead. That's why we're looking at SBA, USDA, many other agencies from the federal government as stakeholders and partners in order to work together and move together in order to achieve that recovery process.
Well, you're getting this investment summit. SBA is here, great buy-in. I know the administrator, Linda McMahon, is supporting your efforts. USDA, they had the Rural Development Administrator. How important is SBA and USDA capital for this recovery?
Huge, Bob. Definitely, we need all the best stakeholders. SBA has been here since day one after Maria, not only helping individuals but also businesses and helping them recover in a quickly fashion. USDA as well. For many years, they have helped to finance many projects that we have needed in Puerto Rico. And that's why it is really important that we partner up with the federal agency and optimize all the sources of funding of capital that we have available.
I'm a big Main Street guy. Just give a little bit, what's going on with Puerto Rican Main Street these days?
Well, right now, as I I was telling you, we're recovering from the hurricane. A lot of people are looking at this like the moonshot opportunity to rebuild Puerto Rico in a better way, in a smarter way, in a more resilient way. We're bringing folks back to Puerto Rico to understand the importance that we need everybody, all hands at the hand that are available to Puerto Rico. So that's what we're looking at. As we transition from this response and recovery phase to reconstruction, we're looking at that new Puerto Rico that we know is possible and that we know that we can make it happen.
Omar, pleasure to meet you. Thank you very much.
Bob.
We conclude our Puerto Rico coverage with the president of the Puerto Rico Manufacturers Association, Rodrigo Masses. I just found all these interviews fascinating on how there are a number of government agencies, we mentioned SBA, USDA, who really want to help Puerto Rico Main Street get back on its feet.
I'm with Rodrigo Masses, the chairman of the Puerto Rican Manufacturers Association. Why are you here at this summit?
Oh, well, basically, we want to discuss the opportunities that this legislation will give Puerto Rico companies trying to develop the economy and trying to look new ways of developing themselves. So I think it's a great tax structure. I think it's good for Puerto Rico, and we're here supporting this activity.
How negatively were your members impacted by the hurricanes?
Well, there's two types of memberships in the Puerto Rico manufacturers. One is the high caliber companies, multinationals, with very good and well-established programs and plans. So they really are not heavily affected.
Okay.
The medium-sized companies also have a good continuity plan, but they typically will suffer a little bit more than the well-developed companies. So in both cases, I think that the manufacturers, because of the way they put themselves together and the continuity plan they do have, they were the sector less affected in Puerto Rico and the sector that also helped the communities closely to stand up again.
Yeah, but Puerto Rican small business really...
That's a different sector dimension. There's no doubt that probably a percentage close to 25-30% of all small business are not coming back because of what I just mentioned.
That's terrible. Tell me a little bit about the tax structure down here in Puerto Rico and how that incentivizes capital investment and lending for your community.
Well, Puerto Rico is a unique tax structure under the U.S. flag, and therefore when you do have a company in Puerto Rico, if it's organized under the laws of Puerto Rico or if it's a control foreign corporation, that means that have a preference tax treatment. And being close to the U.S. mainland, having this kind of logistics in the middle of the American hemisphere means a lot for anyone who wants to get either in the U.S. market or in any market in South or Central America. So Puerto Rico, with all the benefits of being U.S. territory and all the conditions of a high caliber manufacturing platform state, we do have many things to offer.
Great. Rodrigo, thank you.
My pleasure, sir.
Thank you
very much.
Thank you for joining us today for the Coleman Report update and for supporting America's Main Street, one entrepreneur at a time.